Mockingbird and Liarbird by Raya Wakayami on AO3. Chapter 13. Izuku's heart feels like it's about to burst from his chest with how hard it's beating. All he can hear is his own panicked breaths as he stares at cold, red eyes. What should he do? He doubts, even with his training, he'll be a match for Stain. But he sent his SOS signal. Someone will come eventually. He just needs time to stall. He can do that. My name is Mockingbird, and you're the hero killer. Izuku gets out, glad that, for once, his stutter doesn't show up. Another little hero student. Stain growls out. Midoriya, what are you doing? Ida cries out, still prone to the ground. Why is he still prone? Tell me, little bird, are you a false hero too? Stain asks with a sneer on his face as he glances at Ida and the other form that Izuku feels looks closely enough to recognize the hero native. Your little friend here, he claims to be a hero, but then he tried to kill me. Revenge for his brother. Not very hero-like, he murmurs. I'm not a hero, Izuku admits softly. Not yet, anyways, but I can't let you kill my friend. Izuku gets out, firming his grip on his scaff, keeping it between him and Stain. Midoriya, get out of here. This doesn't concern you. Take native and go. Ida cries out frantically. That's not how these things work, Ida-kun. Izuku huffs out. You made this my concern the moment you went looking for Stain. Izuku reminds him. You think I'll just sit back and watch him kill you? Izuku demands. What kind of person would that make me? You got guts, kid, and certainly more hero than this thing. Stain mocked, pointing with his secured katana at Ida, still on the ground. I'll give you one chance. You are a true hero at heart, even protecting the scum. I will let you leave with your life. Ida-kun, why can't you get up? Izuku asks, eyes never leaving Stain's. I don't know. He cut me, and the next thing I knew, I couldn't move. I think his quirk has to do with blood, Ida admits. Last chance, little songbird. Stain growled out, bringing his blade up. No true hero would turn their back on a person in need. Izuku growls, back as he pushes his fears down, settling into a fighting stance that had been drilled into him time and time again. No more chances, little songbird. Stain growls, and Izuku rushes. Izuku holds his ground, or rather than watching the blade, he watches Stain's torso and hips. As Aizawa taught him, ducking under the slash, Izuku brings his staff up and clicks Stain in the side. It's not a hard blow, Stain dodging most of it, but it does make him pause for a moment, obviously reassessing his estimation of Izuku. He shifts his grip on his blade, and then he moves. Izuku barely manages to dodge the next blow. Stain, suddenly much faster than before, bringing up his staff to block the katana before he has to jerk away as Stain's free hand lashes out with a wicked-looking knife that he pulls out of nowhere. After that one hit, Izuku can't get another one, focusing entirely on defending himself and trying to keep from being pushed back. He just has to last long enough for help to arrive. He can do that. He just needs to keep from getting cut by Stain. Even as he thinks this, his foot catches something, Ida's leg, and he missteps. Before he could connect his stance, Stain rushes in with a blade, lashing out. It scores along his jacket, the hidden body armor, stopping most of the blow. But it goes up. It catches his cheek, leaving a burning line of pain as Stain pulls back. Before Izuku can stop him, or even do anything, Stain brings the blade to his mouth and licks along the tip of the blade. Izuku gasps as all the energy leaves his body in a rush, and he collapses to the ground on his back, staff falling from numb fingers to roll feet away. He feels like a puppet with its strings cut, and no matter how hard his mind screams, he can't move. Not bad, little songbird, but not good enough. Yet, I won't kill you, Stain declares and turns away. However, these two I will kill. The blood of the false heroes will stain this night. He growls out. Izuku can just catch Ida's wide gaze as Stain advances, can see how pale he is, and the fear in his gaze, silently apologizing to Subsumi for disobeying her orders. Izuku throws out his voice at Stain. He focuses on him, raising the frequency higher and higher. He never tried to do this high, but he knows that's the only way to stop Stain, is to knock him out, knocking him down. He'd never tried to paralyze someone with a sound, but right now, he's desperate. Stain stumbles and stops, looking around for the reason for his sudden disorientation. Red eyes turn to stare at Izuku, who has his mouth unconsciously pursed. Izuku increases the frequency higher. What are you doing, little songbird? Stain demands, voice slightly slurred. He advances on Izuku, completely forgetting about the other two. Izuku raises it higher, and Stain clutches at the head. What are you doing? He demands. Izuku still doesn't answer, and with a growl, Stain lashes out, the blade slicing at Izuku's neck. Izuku's voice changer takes the blunt of the damage, metal, plastic, and circuitry breaking into pieces. But the blade manages to get through to the protective backing and strap, the tip just sharp enough to cut through as he presses down. Izuku can only lie there, feeling the blade start to slice through, skin into his throat, unable to concentrate on his sound as the pain overwhelms him. Stain presses down, aiming to cut through the thick armor around his neck, before he abruptly yanks the blade back and moves away, as a spear of ice suddenly appears over his head where Stain had just stood. Izuku can't move his head to see, but he would recognize that attack anywhere. Todoroki-san, Izuku calls out shakily. Sorry I'm late, Midoriya. It took me a bit to find my way here, Todoroki informs. Don't let him cut you. He can paralyze you if he licks your blood, Izuku whispers to Todoroki, throwing his voice at the teen. He's fast and strong. He mainly uses his katana, but he's got multiple blades on him. You will need to keep him at a distance and avoid any blade he might throw, Izuku informs him. Got it, Todoroki murmurs, and then ice erupts from his side to appear down the alleyway. Why are you doing this? Ida demands, frantically. You'll just get yourself killed. This is not your fight. It's not yours either, Todoroki huffs out, shifting to avoid the blade thrown at him. Ida, do you think your brother wants you to do this? How will he feel if he turns on the news to find out that his little brother had been killed by the same man that took his legs? If he found out you were looking for Stain and got yourself killed? Izuku demands, sharply, not pulling any punches. Being a hero means putting your life on the line. Yes, he can't walk anymore, but that doesn't keep him from being a hero. You know what will? You dying! Izuku shouts at him. He can feel his fingertips shift against the ground. He just needs a little longer to move. Todoroki curses as a blade sinks into his arm, and suddenly the alley erupts with flames as a teen flings out a burst of flare. You're using your fire now? Izuku asks in shock. I heard you talk about our fight, Todoroki admits, glancing as he pulls the blade from his arm. I did some research recently. You lied. Fire would have helped you. Sounds move better through hot air than cold air. Yet you still beat me in our fight, he murmurs. It made me think on how I viewed my left side. He sent out a burst of ice, creating a thick wall between them and Stain. I never wanted to use his quirk. All he does is burn and hurt people with it. I want to use it to help people, Todoroki exclaims. It takes Izuku a moment to realize who Todoroki is talking about. Endeavor. He shifts his hands and feet, the feeling coming back to them. He forces himself up slowly, despite the pins and needles he could feel in them. I've got an idea, Todoroki-san, Izuku admits, reaching clumsily for his staff and using it to stand. The wall of ice shatters, and the two blades come streaking through the air. Izuku knocks one aside while Todoroki dodges the other one. Tell me, he demands. I think I might have figured out how his quirk works. He ingests someone's blood and paralyzes them. It's how he got me. But my paralysis just wore off while Ida and natives are still down. And they got hit first, which means there's a time condition. Either it means the amount he ingests is dependent on how long he could hold us, or Izuku flexes his shoulders, loosening them. It depends on your blood type. I'm type O, Izuku murmurs. Same. Todoroki nods. I'm A, Ida says quietly. If you saw my SOS, Todoroki-san, that means everyone else has seen it. Hopefully, someone is on their way to help, but we just need to stall for time. Got it? Izuku asked. I can do that. I sent my old man to call for help after he finished dealing with whatever is attacking the city. Todoroki explains. Ida-kun, we'll give as much time as we can, but you need to focus on moving. Got it? We can't fight him by ourselves. Izuku orders. Yes. Ida nods shakily as Stain advances. Todoroki-san, can you heat up the air for me, please? I'm gonna try something again, Izuku asked. Got it. Todoroki agrees, and flames lick over his hands before it shoots out straight at Stain, who jumps over the steam of fire, bouncing off the walls of the alley to throw more blades at them. Izuku knocks two aside as he punches Todoroki out of the path of the third. The fire stops, and Izuku can feel the lingering heat and throws his voice out. It's almost too easy this time to rise in frequency. The warmed air molecules vibrating with heat, allowing him to get the frequency he needed. Stain shakes his head, losing his grip on his blade in his hand momentarily and dropping it slightly before he clenches his hand in offense. No! He howls in rage and rushes them. Todoroki sends out another blast of air before Stain dodges. Then a pillow of ice catches him mid-air before the murderer uses the ice to rebounce and force himself away. Izuku keeps pressing his sound on Stain. He can't throw it as far with his voice enhancer destroyed, but Stain is determined to kill Ida and Native and isn't leaving Izuku's normal range. Izuku can see the note taking effect. The man's moves starting to get sloppy, and his eyes a little unfocused. It's only through sheer will, burning rage, and skill that he's putting up with a fight and being such a threat to them, his blades still flying with deadly accuracy. Izuku hears Ida move finally, can pick up the low, burning hum of his engines coming to life. Todoroki-san, now! Izuku orders. Todoroki surges forward, a large spear of ice rushing Stain as Ida surges up, legs pumping as he becomes a blur of speed. Izuku doubles down on the sound, suddenly spiking the note even higher, making Stain stagger right as the ice hits him in the gut and Ida kicks him in the head. There's a resounding silence as they watch Stain fall and knock it up. It worked? Izuku asked in amazement, shaking with fear and adrenaline. We should tie him up before he comes to. Todoroki reminds Izuku, who nods. Reaching into one of his pouches, Izuku pulls out a heavy-duty tie set. Ida sits heavily and still bleeding badly from his earlier injuries, as Izuku and Todoroki pull off the murderer's blades before zip-tying his hands and feet in multiple ties. Todoroki manages to find some rope as well, an added precaution, and ties that on as well to make it easier to drag the man out of the alley. Izuku walks over to Native. "Are you able to walk, Native-san?" he asked. Yes. Thank you, 3. He murmurs widely, using the wall to push himself up. Izuku offers his shoulder, and Native takes it as he wavers a moment before finding his feet. "Come on now," Izuku says. "They'll be looking for us, and it'll be easier to find us on the main road." Between Izuku and Ida, they manage to drag Stain out onto the main road, just as commotion breaks out, and they look to see a group of heroes heading right at them. "What's going on?" Manya demands, pushing up. Izuku can see Subsumi racing forward, golden eyes wide in shock as she takes in his bloody and dirty form. "Mockingbird, what happened?" she demands before she gets a good look at just who Ida and Todoroki are dragging. "Is that Stain?" she demands sharply. I'm sorry. I didn't," Izuku starts to say, the fear finally catching up with him as he starts to shake. Hey, easy. It's okay," Subsumi says smoothly. "You're safe and, while you're not sound, you will be. Someone call an ambulance. They're all hurt," she orders as someone nods. "Now, tell me what happened. Last I saw you, you were helping civilians evacuate?" "I was," Izuku says shakily. "But then," he starts to say before a screeching breaks the quiet, and they all look to something coming flying and fast. Before anyone can react or stop it, the thing dives, and Izuku lets out a scream as bright of claws grab him and pulling him into the air. One finding a grab at where his shirt had been pulled up and digging in painfully. Izuku looks around frantically, trying to find someone to help or some way to get the thing to let him go as it flies further and further away before it suddenly shoulders and starts to fall. There's a blur of sudden motion, and then he's looking into burning red eyes as Stain snarls in rage, blade sinking into the thing's exposed brain with a wet scritch that makes Izuku want to have heave before the ground approaches quickly. Stain grips the back of his coat and yanks him out of the thing's hold, and then they land heavily, Izuku jolting at his grip. Stain drops him to the ground, pain laced across Izuku's nerves, as he lands on his hurt side before Stain presses a foot to his chest, pinning him. The murderer turns to glare at the approaching heroes. Izuku, making out the burning beacon that is Endeavor, and can only stare in fear as Stain hollers his rage at false heroes, stepping forward. How he would only allow All Might to end him, and how he will wash this world of blood and false heroes before he abruptly stops, his heart beating a heavy tattoo in his chest. Izuku stares at Stain still standing, unconscious form shaking like a leaf, eyes wide with fear. He doesn't remember much of what happens after that. He recalls Subsumi helping him up, riding in an ambulance to the hospital and being checked in. He remembers the doctor checking him over and stitching him up and putting him in a room in a bed, and then nothing. It's pretty late as he and Pops finally leave the agency. They finished up a late patrol and paperwork. Dad's on the night patrol on his own, so it's just the two of them as they take the car home. "What do you want for dinner?" Hitoshi says as he moves through the thin, early evening traffic. "I'm good with anything," Hitoshi admits, with a grin. It had been a good day. He learned a lot so far, and, well, he'd decided that limelight heroics are not what he wants. It's a good learning experience, especially in regards to his learning about many charities, organizations, and outreach programs his dad helps or promotes. That's something he'd like to do as well. Being a hero isn't always about saving someone or stopping bad guys. It's about making things better for everyone. Before Hisashi can answer, both their phone beeps shrilly about an incoming alert. Hitoshi pulls out his phone and opens it to see a message alert. He feels his face pale as he reads it. What is it? Hisashi demands. SOS from Izuku. He whispers, and Hisashi swears before his phone starts to ring suddenly. He abruptly pulls off to the side of the road, hits the brakes sharply. Hisashi pulls out his phone and answers it. So? Yeah, we got it too. We just left the agency. Where are you? That's a few minutes from us. We'll pick you up. No, it doesn't say anything else. See you in a bit. Hisashi hangs up and looks at Hitoshi. See if they've reported about anything happening in Hosu. He orders, as the tires of the car squeal, and he darts back into traffic, making a quick left turn, barely slowing down into it. Hitoshi's heart beating rapidly and stomach knotting with worry starts to surf for any news that might be coming out of Hosu. When he makes him curse softly. He finds a breaking news live stream going and opens it, turns up his volume as the audio of the news report states to play about an attack at Hosu. You can see there are many major assaults of the city of Hosu by several assailants. No one has come forward with any information on what they look like or what their quirks might be. But as you can see, they've already caused major infractional damage to the city. The video switches to a camera feed, showing a block of buildings on fire, panting to show many buildings have collapsed. They can make out the tiny figures of civilians running away even as flashes of quirks announce heroes on scene, combating the fire and fighting whatever or whoever is attacking the city. We take you live with... The car abruptly stops, and Hitoshi looks up to see Shoto standing on the side of the road as he quickly gets into the car, and Hisashi takes off again. There's a major attack on Hosu, Hisashi informs Shoto. Ida is there as well. Shoto reminds him, and Hisashi curses before increasing his speed, weavering quickly through the traffic as they speed towards Hosu. See if you can get a hold of Midoriya, Shoto orders, and Hitoshi nods, calling Izuku's phone a couple times, but it just goes to voicemail. He's not answering, Hitoshi admits. Neither is Ida, Manuel, or Subsumi, Shoto informs them. They're probably caught up in the middle of this, he admits. We won't get there in time to help any, Hisashi admits. They have enough help, Shoto reminds his husband. Hitoshi glances back down to the live video and frowns, seeing a bright beacon on the street. Endeavor's there, he says, holding it up so Shota can see. Shota gets a look of annoyance. What do you want to bet he brought Todoroki as well? Shota asks, and Hisashi curses again as he takes the ramp of the freeway towards Hosu. Izuku may have fallen asleep because the next thing he knows, he's waking up in a bed to raise voices outside the door to the hospital room they put him in. Sitting up, Izuku looks around to see Todoroki is there and awake, but Ida's gone. He looks back at Todoroki. He went to get examined by the doctors again, Todoroki exclaims, and Izuku nods tiredly. The door opens abruptly, and Izuku looks up in surprise as Yamada, Aizawa, and Hitoshi come rushing into the room. Izu! Hitoshi cries out, kneeling on the edge of the bed to pull himself into a hug. Izuku latches onto his best friend, shaking slightly. Hitoshi pulls back. What the hell happened? Izuku, can't stop the tears from forming, and Hitoshi just pulls him back in. Hey, it's okay, Yamada murmurs, coming up beside Izuku to run a comforting hand over Izuku's curls. You okay, Todoroki-kun? Aizawa asks, coming over to the other teen. I'm fine, just some cuts and bruises and quirk exhaustion, Todoroki murmurs. Ida's still with the doctor, he adds. We're aware. We saw him going into the exam room, Aizawa admits, laying a gentle hand on Todoroki's shoulders to squeeze it in reassurance. Izuku finally pulls back with a wet sniff, wiping his hand. Better? Yamada asks, sitting on the edge of the bed. Izuku nods. Now, what happened? We only got your SOS and we saw the news about the city under attack, but someone said something about the hero killer? Yamada demands. I was with Subsumi. We were doing a night patrol and then something attacked the city and she ordered me to stay back and help evacuate civilians. Izuku says, with a bit of a dry swallow. Yamada reaches out to snag the pitcher of water in the nearby cup, filling it before handing it to Izuku. He smiles greatly before taking a sip and clearing his throat. I was doing that, but then something exploded and caught fire and everyone panicked and I got swept in the crowd. Izuku rambles. I managed to find Manuel, but he and the other heroes were busy fighting something, and he ordered me to keep evacuating civilians, but then I heard something, he admits softly. Hitoshi squeezes his wrist, and Izuku smiles gratefully. I found Ida-san in the alley being attacked by someone. I swear, I didn't know it was the hero killer. I tried distracting him so I could get Ida out of there, but then I saw Native, and he turned around and... Izuku cuts off, eyes squeezing close as he remembers fear almost overwhelming him. I couldn't just leave them there. I'd hit my SOS button before going into the alley, so I decided to distract him until help could come, but then he, got me. He whispers, and reaches up to rub at his cheek where the band-aid is placed. His quirk paralyzes by ingesting blood, and I was down, and I didn't want to. I promised I wouldn't use my quirk unless it was life or death, but he was gonna kill Ida, and Izuku trails off, hands shaking so badly the water scorches a bit, before Yamada wraps his hands around Izuku to steady them. Hey, little listener, it's okay, you're safe now. He can't hurt you or anyone else. Yamada smooths, and Izuku nods shakily. So, you used your sound attacks on him, Yamada encourages. Izuku takes another drink of water before continuing. He realized what I was doing and he rubs at his throat, and Hitoshi sucks in a sharp breath. My voice enhancer and the armor on the back saved me, really, he admits with a shaky smile. That and Todoroki-kun getting there, he got staying off me at a distance. Eventually, the paralysis wore off, and I got back in the fight, and then Ida did as well, and we knocked him out. Somehow. I don't know how we did it, but by all rights, he should have taken us out, he says, eyes wide with uncertainty. He underestimated you, Aizawa speaks up. He didn't see you as enough of a threat to go all out. You're all lucky, he says. Izuku nods, and Todoroki looks down at his hands. We tied him up and took him to the mouth of the alley when help finally did get there, but one of those things grabbed me and then Stain saved me, he admits softly, looking at Yamada in shock. He killed it, stabbed it right in the brain, Izuku murmurs huskily. He'd never forget remembering the sound of shredding brain matter. Izuku swallows heavily and takes a slow, deep breath to keep the nausea at bay. Yamada encouraged him to take another sip, and he does. Then he passes out after making some big speech. The doctor said he broke a rib in our fight and it punctured his lungs. When he saved me and we landed, Izuku explained. I was terrified, he whispers. I would have been too, Yamada admits, running a comforting hand down Izuku's arm. That was much more than anyone could take on their own. Well, we can't condone the use of your quirk without a license or permission from your instructors, Yamada continues, shifting to look at Todoroki. We're proud of you three for saving each other and looking out for Native. The door opens, and they all look up to see Ida coming in, the doctor behind him. Aizawa-sensei, Yamada-sensei, Shinso-san, Ida says in surprise. Ida-kun? Aizawa says evenly. He looks at the doctor. Have their parents been called? He demands. Yes. The doctor nods quickly. Ida-san's parents are nearby and are aware of the son's stay here, but they're also dealing with Ingenium's care and are splitting their time currently, he explains. Midoriya's mother is on her way, while Endeavor is currently dealing with the aftermath of the attack and can't be here at the time. Todoroki-san's sister is currently on her way to handle things, he adds. Thank you. Are their injuries life-threatening? He asks. I cannot discuss this with you, he says. I am their homeroom teacher at UA, as well as one of the heroes responsible for their well-being and safety while away from their families. I have permission from their parents to act as their temporary guardian until the family member can attend to them. Aizawa explains patiently. Very well, the doctor murmurs. All of the three, Todoroki had the least severe injuries. He had a shallow scab wound in his arm, along with multiple cuts and bruises, and quirk exhaustion. We stitched up what needed to be stitched up, and he should be fine after some rest and time to heal. Midoriya also had some cuts. The most worrying one was the one in his throat, as it came close to cutting through his whip pind. We cleaned it well and stitched it. Thankfully, the blade missed the arteries. He also had a deep puncture in his side, where the claw pierced him, and that as well has been stitched. Rest and healing will fix his injuries and quirk exhaustion. Ida has the worst damage, multiple major punctures and slashes to his persona. We are keeping an eye on his arm in case of nerve damage, but for now, he is fine. He finishes. Thank you, Aizawa says, and the doctor nods before leaving them alone. Once they're alone, he turns to Ida. Care to explain how you ended up in an alley with Stain? He asks softly and evenly. Ida looks away, shoulders slumped in shame. I went looking for him, he admits, uninjured hand fisting in his lap. I found him attacking Native in the alley and I was so enraged that I rushed him. I was stupid, he admits, looking at them. I thought I could take Stain, and he barely had to do anything to take me down. If it wasn't for Midoriya-san and Todoroki-san, I would be dead right now, along with Native, he admits. Thank you for your aid, he murmurs with a bow to the two of them. Aizawa sighs softly. We will discuss your punishment later, and I'm sure there will be legal consequences for all three of you, Aizawa admits tiredly. He stands with a groan. I'm going to find the chief of police, see if I could nip this in the bud before it gets too big. Keep an eye on them, Sashi, Aizawa says. Of course, Yamada-san says with a sunny smile as Aizawa leaves them abruptly. All right, you three. You need a rest. Lie down and try to get some sleep. Shinso-kun, why don't you go both grab us something to drink? Yamada says, offering his wallet to Hitoshi, and the team nods before taking it and leaving to do as told. Yamada-san? Izuku murmurs. "It's all right now," Yamada says with a smile as he takes Izuku's mostly finished cup of water. "I'm sorry," Izuku whispers. "I know you are," Yamada says softly, setting the cup to the side table. "We'll get this all figured out, okay?" Izuku nods and lets the blonde hero tuck the blankets around him before he walks over to do the same with Todoroki and Ida. Whether it's because they're here or because he's still exhausted, Izuku finds sleep easily and soon passes out. Hitoshi is slumped awkwardly in a chair when he hears the sound of hurrying footsteps. Hisashi is outside the room, corroborating with Yue and Nezu, while Shota is dealing with Chief of Police and helping clean up the mess Hasu is in. "Yamada-san, is he in there?" comes the familiar voice of Izuku's mother. She sounds out of breath, probably having rushed all the way through the hospital to get to her son. "He is, Inko-san. He's sleeping right now," Hisashi reassures her, and Hitoshi sits up, glancing at the door, where he's sure they're standing in front of it. "What happened?" Inko demands frantically. "There was an attack on Hosu tonight. I'm not sure what or who exactly attacked, but it's with citywide panic. Izuku was out with his instructor Subsumi, and in the panic trying to evacuate civilians, they got separated. Somehow he stumbled onto the hero killing attacking one of his classmates, who had gone looking for the man, for what he did to his brother, Ingenium. He hit his SOS button and tried to defend Stain until help could arrive. Todoroki, another one of his classmates, came when he got the SOS, and between the three of them, they somehow managed to knock Stain out. One of the things that attacked the city went after Izuku, but Stain saved him, for whatever reason, and then passed out." Hisashi explained quickly, and Hitoshi's sure Inko looks shocked by such an info dump. Is he... Inko can't seem to finish her sentence. "He's fine, Inko-san. He was hurt, but they're all fine. But it's nothing life-threatening or debilitating. Rest and time healing will help. I should warn you, there might be legal consequences," he adds softly. "What?" Inko asks quickly. "Illegal use of quirk, vigilanteism, and causing bodily harm with a quirk, more than likely," Hisashi admits softly. "Shota is talking with the police chief right now and trying to play down the consequences, or to allow UA to dole out the punishment rather than the legal system," he explains. "Oh God," Inko whispers, sniffing softly. I'll contact Takeda-san in the morning if they decide to press charges. There are precedents of charges being waived for minors' use of quirks in life or death situations. I'm not gonna let them crucify my baby just because he defended himself," Inko whispers heartedly. "We don't know yet what is planned, but we'll keep that as plan B," Hisashi says, with a bit of a laugh in his voice. "Can I go in?" Inko asks. "Of course. Hitoshi's keeping an eye on them while we work out this," Hisashi explains, and Inko makes an understanding noise before the door slides open, and Hitoshi sees Inko. It looks like she'd just thrown on whatever was closest when she got in the call, a pink cardigan pulled over casual clothing, like she was relaxing at home. She smiled distractingly at Hitoshi before walking further into the room. There, a stool next to Izuku's bed, and she dragged it closer before settling, eyes taking in Izuku's person, nothing the bandages around his neck and on his cheek. When she reached out for Izuku's hand, he turns away to give her some privacy as he stands and walks out to see Hisashi texting quickly on his phone. "Anything on what attacked the city?" Hitoshi asks, fishing for answers. Hisashi sighs, lowering his phone before offering an arm to wrap around Hitoshi's shoulder, the teen taking it with a smile. "I'm sure this will be over the news tomorrow. Reports and videos are starting to come up. They look similar to the Nomu that attacked the USJ. Hisashi admits. Is it the same people that attacked? Hitoshi asks softly, remembering the panic-filled day with a grimace. There's no proof yet, but we can't rule it out, Hisashi admits with a sigh. Shio's on his way back with the police chief. No matter what is said in this meeting, keep your mouth closed, okay? I know you want to defend Izuku, but this is between the three of them, their instructors, and the police chief, Hisashi warns, and Hitoshi mimics zipping his lips. They step back into the room, and Hitoshi takes his chair again as Hisashi snags the stool beside Ida. A few minutes later, the door opens, and a head of white hair with streaks of red pokes into the room. Shoto, there you are, the woman exclaims, walking in. Fujimi, Todoroki greets softly. Father wouldn't tell me anything that happened, only saying that you were involved in something and were in the hospital. Are you okay? Fujimi demands, worryingly, rushing to his bedside and taking the seat there. I'm fine. I was protecting my friends from being hurt by the hero killer, Todoroki says, hesitant over the words chosen. Izuku, having warmed up at Fujimi's entrance, grinning at Todoroki before he noticed his mother and yelps softly in surprise before she pulls him into a hug. Mom! Izuku gets out, hugging just as tight. There's a knock at the door, and the room gets even more crowded as Shota, Manuel, Subsumi, and a large man with a dog mutation walk into the room, taking in the two new people in the room. Shoto-san, Inko greets with a wan smile. Inko-san? He nods at her, stepping away from the main group to stand by Hisashi and Ida. Subsumi-san. Izuku greets with a wary smile. Hey, kiddo. She greets with a nod. Midoriya-san? She adds as well with a nod to Izuku's mother, who nods back. This is Suburagami, Kanji, Hosu's chief of police. She explains simply. Hello, Inko murmurs, Fujimi doing as well. Greetings, I assume all the family members or guardians are all here? He asks. What about Ida-san's parents? Izuku asks. They're currently helping Sensei with his recovery and are unable to be here at the moment. They have asked me, as his homeroom teacher, to step in. Shota speaks up. Oh, Izuku murmurs. Very good. I have just finished being informed about the conditions of the hero killer stain. The dog says simply, woofing softly with each sentence. Burns, bruises, broken ribs, and punctured lunge. Ruptured eardrums from the sound-based attacks. The man is in rough conditions. Such damage cannot be overlooked, especially from 3 hero students without a license or direct permission from their superiors. The charge will be hefty, and could have an impact on your hero careers before they even start, he states bluntly. Excuse me, are you telling me you would charge 3 children with protecting themselves when their so-called superiors failed in their duty to protect them? Inko hisses out angrily, puffing up in indignation. My child was only defending himself from a known murderer and protecting his friends and classmates from harm until their so-called heroes finally showed up after the fact. What would you have done if any of them died? Pinned it on the others? I should press charges on their superiors in the city for allowing them to come to harm, she says, heartedly. Inko-san, please. Shoto murmurs, and Inko deflates a bit at his words. Suragami, he murmurs. The man clears his throat. Of course. You are well within your rights to press charges where you feel you should, he acknowledges. What happened tonight should never have happened, and punishment has already been handled in that regard. However, these 3 hero students still broke the law and caused bodily harm to another person knowingly, and punishment must also be given where it's due. You can't seriously say we're in the wrong. Native should be dead now if Ida hadn't interfered, and Ida as well if we hadn't. Todoroki huffed out angrily. And so the law shouldn't apply to you, too? Uragami asked. If we make an exception for one, we have to make an exception for everyone. And then the law is pointless. No one is above the law, he reminds them. He then clears his throat. At least that is the official statement of the police, he admits. You may, of course, claim this publicly, and I'm sure the public will go crazy for it. But then there will also be the punishment that follows it, he exclaims. Or, he pauses, looking around. You don't. With his burns and Endeavor's presence tonight, it can be played off as his, and the charge swept aside. Very few were witness to what happened between you three and Stain, which means we can keep this quiet. But that also means you don't get any of the public recognition. So you have to choose. Take the claim and face the consequences, or allow someone else the claim and leave with no consequences. Legally. And with the heartfelt gratitude of Hotsu Police Force for taking on a duty that should have never been yours to begin with. Why don't you just start with that? Todoroki grumbles. Chateau, Fujimi hisses. I accept your terms, sir, Ida says quietly. Yes, please. Izuku agrees quickly, Shoto nodding as well. Very well, he says with a smile. You have my most humble thanks for what you three have done tonight. I know it does not seem fair that the adults are ruining what should have been something good, but we only do this to protect you. You three are excellent students, and I, for one, can't wait to see the kind of heroes you will be in the future. He murmurs with a deep brow before nodding farewell and walking out. Oh, Inko whispers, no doubt taken aback at the sudden change in what was happening. Well, I guess I don't need to call Tikadan-san in the morning, then, she admits with a small huff of laughter. Mom, Izuku explains softly. Oh, don't sound like that. Like I wouldn't leave my baby undefended legally. Inko waves off with a smile, reaching out to take his hand. Don't think you three won't be facing consequences. Shota speaks up, and the room goes quiet. Nezu and the rest of us UA staff are already aware of what's happened tonight, as well as the likely outcome. Come Monday when you return to campus, we will be meeting with all three of you to discuss the ramifications of your actions and what you will be doing as punishment. Got it? Yes, sir, they chorus together. And that also includes punishment for us as well. Manuel speaks up. I especially don't take lightly to being used as a means for revenge, he says, pointedly to Ida. Had I known this is why you chose my agency, I would have resketched my invitation. I am sorry, Manuel, son. I never meant for any of this to happen, Ida whispers. Just make sure it doesn't happen again, Manuel says, tapping Ida's head lightly. I've already been punished due to this, and now I get to pass it along to you. We'll speak later once you're discharged. Yes, sir, Ida whispers. I highly doubt Father would care one way or another. He gets to add the hero killer to his belt. Hitoshi murmurs. Shoto, Fujimi says loudly in reprimand. I will make sure you get some sort of reprimanded. She huffs, and he nods. Midoriya-san, Subsumi murmurs and walks over before bowing lowly to Izuku's mother. I am sorry for my lacking in protecting your son. I broke my promise to him, though I did not mean to. I hope you can forgive me for my negligence, and if you want to press charges, I won't fight you. She murmurs. What? Izuku asks in shock. Oh, no, please, it's all right. Inko whispers, pressing a hand to the larger woman's shoulder until she straightens. I know you did everything you could have, Inko says softly. From what I've heard about what happened, it was chaos out there. I'm just glad he's safe and relatively unharmed. It could have been a lot worse tonight. I'm not happy about what has happened. But I can't place all the blame on you. Izuku made decisions tonight as well. She admits, and the teen ducks his head. I'm sorry, Subsumi-san. I never meant for things to escalate so quickly. I just wanted to get Ida out of danger, but then it turned out to be Stain, and then I saw Native, and I couldn't just run and leave them to die, and... He pauses for a brief. No one blames you for wanting to protect your friend, Mockingbird, Subsumi says with a faint smile. You're still learning and coming to understand what it means to be a hero. Take tonight and learn from it. Okay. Izuku nods with a weighing smile. We should probably leave before we run out. Hitoshi speaks up. Visiting hours are long past and it's late. There's a hotel nearby we can stay at until the boys are discharged. Of course, Inko says. I'll check with your doctor in the morning. Are they finished with their internships? Or going home? She asks. Shota shrugs. That is up to you and their instructor, he says. I have no problem taking him for the rest of his internship. Subsumi speaks up, and Manuel adds his confirmation as well. Then I'll check in with you tomorrow morning and then head back home, okay? Inko whispers to Izuku. Okay, Mom. I'm sorry you had to come all this way here and for worrying you, he whispers. Oh, sweetheart, I'll always worry about you. She jokes, but kisses his cheek before standing up. Fujimi standing as well, bidding Todoroki farewell. Shoto, Hisashi, and Hitoshi all say their own farewells, as Subsumi and Manuel wave before stepping out ahead of the rest of them. Hitoshi gives out one last hug to Izuku, and waves to the others before following his dad's, and Izuku's mother's out. Are we staying the night? He asks them. We are, Hisashi speaks up. You and me are going to spend tomorrow helping the locals clean up the damage as I drill some rescue info into that head of yours, Hisashi says with a grin. Okay, Hitoshi nods. I'll stay for a bit to see if I can't figure out if this was the League again or a coincidence. Shota murmurs to the two of them. They escort Inko to the hotel Hisashi mentioned, and they all get rooms before finding some sleep. It's been a long night already. I am going to this note that I'm going to give you is one of the author notes here in the end of this chapter, which is what they wrote. I never got how they could discuss all this legal consequence with Izuku, Ida, and Todoroki without their parents there. I mean, come on, they're minors, and you're threatening to charge them with a crime. They have no legal or parent representative there. And no, their mentors don't count unless their parents sign documents letting them act as representatives. That's like interrogating a minor without a parent's permission or without any legal consult. And no, yeah, that's true. That is something that's always bugged me about the main My Hero Academia show, and it's that scene. First of all, there is no lawyers, there's no... here's the thing, it's basically a very legal talk, and their parents aren't there, and it's not just the talk, it's not just saying, hey, there's gonna be consequences, whether, you either take the blame and the claim of, being the reason why Stain is, behind bars and get consequences, or let somebody else take that claim and be consequenceless free. That is a decision, a legal decision, something a minor can't do. It's not up for a minor, right? It is up for a parent or a legal guardian, right? And as the author's notes say, unless the fucking parent, signed that the mentors have legal, or like legal guardians or temporary guardians of their children, it's kind of iffy. It's always brought me iffy. So what I was actually going to do on a note here, there's two notes that I really wanted to touch about, which is how I really love how they handled the whole legal talk and actually having, parents there. And it's not just, the fucking 3 children and the freaking dog, because that, iffy. It's giving manipulation toward children, because, that's the thing. No matter what they say, if they say, yes or they say no to the consequences or not, whatever. It's not legally binding, and the chief can get very much in big trouble legally wise, legal wise. So I'm glad that that is sorted out in this fanfic. That's something I look out a lot when I see fan fiction that is going through the storyline of the My Hero Academia, but it's like changed a bit. And we always get to this point of the storyline, and I'm like, am I gonna be like, ooh, the chief in police is asking to get sued? Is he gonna get a lawsuit today? It's not a big pet peeve of mine, but it's just something I like to look out there, and I've never really understood. On to the second note, the trauma. Izuku clearly has trauma. You could tell. I try to voice act it properly, like the breaths, the stopping, the shaky breath, the wanting to cry. It sounds like I'm about to cry because I'm tearing up again. Goddamn. I heard a voice crack. I'm tearing up because something I don't see a lot in the My Hero Academia show is trauma. Mental health specifically, right? We see it in season 6. This is a trend with My Hero Academia. I'm like, oh, this would be so great if it's touched upon a little more. Yeah, just wait for season 6. Just wait for season 6. We'll get there, right? But what I mean is, like, I wish they touched upon it sooner. Not just in season 6 and his whole dark era, his whole big mental break. I mean, fully. Have Izuku clearly, he's terrified, and you can tell, right? And it's not just the moments where the author's like, oh, Izuku's terrified, or he feels terror, right? Yeah, sure, that conveys the point that he is terrified, right? But it's the fact that he's stuttering, it's the fact that he's gulping, it's the fact that he's having a hard time retelling the story, it's the fact that he's having, like, if I remember correctly, like little mini flashbacks. I'm saying if I remember correctly, as if like I didn't record this like a couple minutes ago. But yeah, it's all that little stuff that I wish the My Hero Academia main show talked about. I wish they touched upon it a lot more, right? This is what I love about fanfiction, because it touches upon that aspect that is just like, it's a missed opportunity. Honestly, it is a big missed opportunity, and I love how Yamada's like, hey, I would have been terrified too, right? You shouldn't have gone through that. You're too young, right? Because he is. Ugh, a lot of the things these kids, face, it's like, it's too young. I feel my heart. So I'm gonna end this outro, and then I'm gonna cry because Izuku. But before I do that, some notes on tomorrow's and Friday's videos. I will not be posting anything tomorrow or Friday. My reasoning is I'm going to be taking those 2 days to pre-record a bunch of stuff, because lately I've been recording and the day of and been posting late and stuff like that, and I also have a little surprise that I want to give you guys, but I need prep time for that surprise. And specifically, it's one series that I'm very, very, like, I don't know if I could do what I want to do with that series still on, which happens to be a certain very lengthy, almost hour-long series. Like, it's such a long series. The last 2 have been an hour and a half. The other one was an hour and 30 minutes. It's a long series. It's a lengthy boy. But I hope with this new this new, thing that I'm working on, I feel like you guys are gonna very much enjoy it. So I'm gonna take those 2 days, not as break, but as a whole work day. I won't have to worry about uploading freaking videos, because that's why I can't do the thing that I've been wanting to do for a little bit. It's because in the moment where I took my hiatus, it was a hiatus. It was a genuine break. Needed a break from social media. Not from AO3 though. AO3 was my bestie. My hoe. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. But AO3 was my life. Was the breathing air I was breathing. Was the water I was drinking. That's the reason why I've read so much this month. Those fucking hiatus weeks when I was just laying in bed crying as I read some cheesy ass fanfic. Or some whatever, right? But hopefully with those 2 work days that I'm gonna take, I'm going to be able to do this surprise for you guys, and I'm really excited, and I really want this surprise to be good. I hope you guys enjoy it, at least. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it, but as always, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.